Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the Friday Night Disaster. I'm your good buddy, your good pal, Amigo Aaron, and I'm a lucky boy tonight because I'm joined with two legends in the gaming community. I'd like to start off by introducing a man who was the driving force behind such titles as Beneath the Steel Sky and, of course, the Broken Sword series. It's our good buddy, Tony Warriner. How's it going, my friend?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for the invite.
Hey, thanks for coming in. And
No
joining
problem.
us will be another legendary figure, a guy who was involved with Sensible Software and was responsible for lending his artistic talents to such games as Cannon Fodder and the Sensible Soccer series. It's Stoo Cambridge. Hello, Stu.
Hello there. Thanks for having us.
I got a sense of deja vu just now. It's the dangest thing,
Yeah,
boys.
yes.
So, why, what is the scoop here? Well, I'll tell you straight up. These two men, what happens when two legendary gaming personalities join forces? It's like a super group, like the Traveling Wilburys or something. They get together and they do something wonderful. And what these two gentlemen have been up to is a new game that's right now on Kickstarter called UrbX Warriors. And this game will be coming out, I believe, initially for the ZX Next and the PC. Is that right, fellas? Or when you launch this fully, is it going to be a full slate of machines you're going to come out with?
No, it'll be Spectrum Next, and then the exact same game, pretty much on PC, Windows, Mac, Linux.
Very good, very good. Now, what what brought you two fellas together on this project? I mean, were you guys friends for a long time, or did you just run across each other? Like, how did this thing? How was it born?
Stu?
Well, I mean, we attended a show a few years ago called Zapped Live, and Tony had his book out. He wrote a really great book on Revolution software and his experience there. And we'd kind of known of each other through doing a couple of podcasts before. And we were both attending this show, and I helped him out of his car with some boxes of his books. I said, "Do you want a hand?" So he was walking along and having a little chat, and got on really well. And we just joked. And we said, "Oh, we should maybe do a game one day together." And that was it. We left it there, and then fast forward. I think was it a few months later, and
Yeah,
we kind of
we sort of
started. Yeah, it kind of just happened, really, didn't it? We kind of started
started
working on
talking
something.
about it. I mean, it's like we're all from the same era back in the 90s when we did some really great stuff, and we were just talking about how we used to make games back in the day, and comparing that to like the modern big studios and stuff, and like we were kind of just reminiscing about how great it was, and it just like seemed obvious that we should at some point do something. I mean, I'm a coder of the old school, and like I need an artist, and Stu's an artist of the old school, and he needs a programmer, and it just seemed like a natural fit that at some point we've got to do something.
And
Sure,
we
sure.
and we both share the same kind of outlook on how to develop games, which was a brilliant kind of foundation for us both because we didn't need to kind of discuss that. We just do it. Yeah.
I noticed when I was looking through the Kickstarter page. We're gonna talk about this Kickstarter here in a second, but one of the things I noticed that stuck out to me is the line that said you guys. It said frustrated by the increasingly underhand monetization techniques now so prevalent in the corporate games industry. I mean, would you say you were both disillusioned with the way because you've both been in the game for a long time now? You've worked on small projects and big projects. I mean, is this not the is the current way games are made not your cup of tea? I mean, is there a lot of pressure to do what everyone else wants, but not necessarily what you could do yourself?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a keen idea of what we want to do, and just making fun little games like we used to do, but taking into account everything we've learned over the years. You kind of back everything we know now into the way we used to do things, and we can carry on advancing. Not just being nostalgic, but building on where we were at, say, 20, 30 years ago. Um, but you know, at the same time as well, we don't want to work in a big managed structure anymore. You know, you get to a certain age in life, and you just don't want to deal with that kind of corporate stuff anymore. And I don't want to manage lots of people, but neither do I want to be managed by someone else either. So why not form a band and make a game? You know, like it used to be.
Yeah, I
Sure.
thought very much so. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, when we started to work on UrbX Warriors, it was just great because we had ideas and we just bounced ideas off of each other. There's nobody else involved. We didn't have to kind of seek the the approval of somebody at a management level or discuss it at a board meeting or anything like that. We just kind of started doing it, and it's been pretty much that sort of process all the way along. You know, one of us will have an idea and we discuss it and say, yeah, that's cool, or maybe not. And it just, if it's good, it'll go in. And it's kind of, the whole game has been developed like that, where we've just progressed through adding things to it and thinking, hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? And yeah, that will fit in nicely in that part and that will go there. And we've kind of built the game really for ourselves, if that makes sense. It's a game that we want to play, bringing all these elements of stuff that we've kind of been influenced through over the years, you know, like the 90s arcade games and what old school arcade games were really about. You know, it's just that core gameplay, and that's what we put into UrbX Warriors.
You know,
Yeah. We just make decisions. You know, we make decisions like decision.
Yeah, because
It
you
goes
don't
in.
answer anybody, right? You get away with
yeah.
that.
We go
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's cool. Let's do it this afternoon. You know, we don't have to raise a ticket for a meeting and book people in and all this stuff. We just do it. And if it's something a bit silly and like that would get sort of smoothed out of a corporate game, you know, it goes into this game. You know, the funny stuff, the jokes, you know, the hidden stuff that doesn't necessarily make any sense, but we want to do it, so we do it anyway. You know.
You know, it occurs to me, you know, because again, you guys have been in the game for quite a while. I mean, on and off, maybe here recently, but back in the day, is this sort of like going back to the beginning of the way games were made? I mean, I know you were both members of teams for a while, but I know you they were much smaller. I mean, you guys have both worked on like for Nintendo machines and or PlayStations. You know, you've had to deal with bigger teams, I'm guessing. Is going back and doing it this way, does this remind you of your start? Is that what it was like?
Yeah, for me, definitely. I mean, it's very much so. I mean, the only thing that you can compare from like now to then is that the tools we've got now are like way better than what we had back in the 80s and the early 90s. You know, I mean, everything now is just available at the end of of an internet search. You know, if you want a tool to do something, you can find someone who's written it, or there's something out there that's been, supported for a while. But yeah, I mean, it's got that real kind of bedroom coder feeling about it, which is what we had when we started out. It's just so cool. It's really cool just to sit there and just work with somebody who can, you just bounce ideas and you just do stuff, and it's very much reminiscent of the old days. It really is.
But with the advantages of some experience as well, so we're hopefully not making tragic mistakes that people can easily, there's a lot of pitfalls in video game production and development. You know, you can do a lot of things wrong, and little. I mean, the story, the essence of making video games is that you can have a hairline crack of a mistake at the beginning of a project that slowly opens up and gets wider and wider until it's too late to fix. And that's what happens to so many projects. And we at least have the experience of having seen that kind of thing. So we can, we're quite gung-ho about it, and all the things we're saying about doing it our way and all the rest of it. But we're doing that based on our experience of having seen a lot of things work and a lot of things go wrong as well. So all of that, although we're going back to the bedroom and the late 80s and early 90s, we've still got all that experience. So we, that is valuable, and part of it.
Those core game
go ahead,
design. It's those core game design elements that you learn through experience. That you, from level design, what makes a good level design. The risk reward factor. What ratio of risk is there for the reward? All this stuff that when you've been doing this for a long time, you don't even think of. You just kind of instinctively do it when you're designing something. And certainly with UrbX, there's a lot of that in the way we've designed the game. There's like a difficulty curve that we're kind of bridging in, so it goes up and up and up, and introduce new elements. But that, like Tony just said, it all comes down from the experience we've both gained from working on various projects through the years. And you can't really kind of just pick that up in 5 minutes. It's all ingrained in here through just doing it over and over again, year after year. You know, it's good.
Sure. I noticed, it's funny, I was looking on both your all's, just looking up stuff, look up some webpage stuff. It's on your page, Tony, and I was looking, and I noticed that you had, amongst the things you had up there, you had developed a little Pico 8 game, which I thought was interesting. I had to go with that because I just gotten into Pico 8 here recently.
Yeah.
And I noticed, Stu, that you had worked in the realm of the J2ME, the phone stuff back in the day as well. So it's funny. I mean, it seems like you've been with the big crews, you've been the one-man show, and maybe this is your happy medium. And I like the fact that you guys are bringing this out on the ZX Spectrum Next, which is I would call, I mean, by today's standards, a low-powered machine, but by the standards of the era you guys came up in, this would have been a pretty decent machine. And it's a machine that could use some love, but I think it's a great place to use as a launching port for a game because you can kind of dip your toes in and see where the game is going to go. Is that sort of how you guys looked at it when you decided to go with the Next? I mean, how was that decision came up with?
You know, that's exactly what we were thinking. It's a pretty powerful machine, is the Next. I mean, it's more Amiga-like. It's more 16-bit than a Spectrum. And our approach to it was not to write a Spectrum game; it was to write a much bigger project, and so it doesn't feel or look like a Spectrum game. I don't think. Wouldn't you say, Stu?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing we've had from when we've shown it. We've shown it to a few people at different shows we've been to, and one of the biggest compliments that we had was somebody walked past and they didn't realise it was running on a Spectrum Next. They thought it was like an Amiga AGA game or some other format. They just didn't understand that they was looking at a Next game. And when we said, no, it's a Next, look, you can see the machine is sitting in front of the monitor and it's on and that's the joystick and you're playing. They went, wow, that's nothing like I've seen on the Next before. And it's like what Tony said, when we started this, we wasn't locked into thinking of the Spectrum Next as a Spectrum. We just looked at it as the hardware and we thought, well, what can this machine do? But we wanted to make an arcade game with a bit of adventure elements in it. It looks slightly bits of RPG, not a lot, just little hints of RPG in there. And we just thought, well, we can do it on this machine, and we used that as the starting sort of launch of what we were trying to develop, and it just worked, and again, it's just the way we've looked at it. We're looking at it as an arcade game rather than a Spectrum Next game. But I did that with the graphics as well. I mean, the graphics. I mean, when I one of the first things I developed was the sprites, but the logo. We needed a logo purely to announce it to people, and I had in my head this is like Neo Geo, because I thought if I can kind of get it into my head that I'm working on a Neo Geo. And I had like Neo Geo games running, and I played some Neo Geo games, all the fighting games and Metal Slug, and I just looked at the art and I thought that captured that essence of what made those 90s arcade games that little bit special. And I worked that into the design of the logo, and we've kind of taken that into the way the game is. And I think that's why people are a little bit unsure that they can't believe it's actually a Spectrum Next. Oh yes, it
reminds me of, like, it's funny you should mention the Neo Geo, because especially when the game introduces the two heroes, they have a very distinct Neo Geo Japan look to them. I was wondering if you'd gotten any sort of influence from that, and I will say, to parrot what you said, the game logo on this. I mean, I'm an arcade guy from way back. And this looks like straight out of the arcade. It's a beautiful logo, and the game itself does. It reminds me, I don't know how much Neo Geo you guys have played, or excuse me, TurboGrafx, or it's PC Engine. This is sort of like if the TurboGrafx and the Neo Geo had a child. That's what this reminds me of. It's right in the middle there, you know,
Yeah,
and it's a very distinctive look. I like the fact that it's. I mean, I read on your blog about the color palettes, Stu, which is too technical for a dumb guy like me to fully comprehend. But I sort of got where you were coming from, where the palette on this isn't as robust as, say, the Amiga, for example. But I think what you guys have done here with the colors is quite lovely, and the different levels that I saw in the demo were very distinctive. Did you find programming and doing art on the Next a chore? Was it a delight? Like, where did it fall in the scope of the way you guys usually work?
I mean, with as far as the graphics, I mean, it's only got 512 colors to choose from. You know, so you've got a 256 color background, and you can choose any of those 512 colors on that background, which sounds a lot. But when you look at like modern systems, they're like, you've got 16.7 million colors. And even the original Amiga had 4,096 colors. So it's quite a step down to what we're used to today. But the strength in having restrictions is you work around those restrictions. You think, well, I've got to make the best of what I've got here. So when I was looking at what would work, I kind of tried to come up with a look that would make the most of those limited colors. I mean, I've used like stippling a lot in a lot of places, and I've careful selection of the shades that work together. So I've kind of disguised a lot of the palette within the way I've used it. And again, it goes back to not thinking of a Spectrum Next. I'm thinking it was an arcade game, and that's really played a major part in the way I've approached doing the graphics. I'm a big arcade head. I love the 80s arcades. You know, grew up in them. You know, the 90s stuff. So it was a big influence on me. And the chance to do a game like this, where we've got freedom to do whatever we want, I just drew the influences from there. But I mean, Tony, I mean, I'll talk about the programming side, which again was going back to the old school way of doing things.
yeah. I mean, I kind of thought about it and realized I hadn't done any Z80 assembly since like 1988 or something, which is what 37 years ago, something like that, 36 years ago. So I was a little bit worried at first because you know it's not easy stuff, and there's not many people can still do it, and could I still do it? And it took me about 2 days to it suddenly clicked back into place, and straight back into Z80. So that was a bit of fortune, really. But the only hard thing about it is because it's got 2 meg of RAM, and which is quite a lot compared to the 48 or whatever it was we had on the Spectrum back in the day. So in that respect, it's not like an 8-bit machine in any respect at all. You know, we just think of it as an arcade board that we've been given to do what we want on. But you do have this banked all the memory is banked. The only hard bit for me was just dealing with the banked memory, really, because it's you know, there's 2 meg there, but it's all in 8K segments. So it's like you've got all of your belongings you've got a very small apartment, but all of your belongings are in boxes, shipping containers parked up outside, like hundreds of them. So you whatever you want, you've got to go outside and get it and bring it in, and then but to get it in, you've got to take something out again. That's the only difficult bit. I think if it was a 68,000 chip, it would be the perfect machine almost.
Do you guys find it more difficult to have hard limits on what you can do, or have like a huge unlimited arsenal at your disposal? I mean, do the limitations make it easier in some ways, or do you want to have everything all the time? More? Is that better?
Well, programmers and artists always ask for more, but actually the restrictions are good. I mean, you know, if you play this game as you have, you know, you see pretty good gameplay, I hope, and a fairly focused design, and that's because there's only so much you can do on this machine. You know, it's good, and it's not like the 8-bit days. It's a good solid 16-bit machine in reality, but you are aware of that you are limited to some degree, which is different from a Unity game or an Unreal game or whatever, where you can do whatever you want. And those projects tend to get out of control because they've got so many possibilities.
Sure.
You know, they're not focused enough. So with this game, we were forced. You are forced to be focused, and I think that actually has paid off quite well. I mean, I think it is quite a focused game on its core gameplay, and that's what really matters. And that was the same as for the people making arcade machines. And maybe that's an important thing.
Yeah, before we get too far into the woods, I want to get into the gameplay proper. I want to talk about your Kickstart here, and also I want to let people know that if you're interested in backing this, we're still cooking here. We've got 22 days to go, and I'm happy to report this blew away expectations. And out of the what is it, $8,000 goal around there, you guys are up to 34K plus here, moving upwards. So I feel like I'm a lucky man to get to talk to you guys after the pig is in the poke, as they say around here, because you don't have to worry anymore. But I got to ask, because it's not like I get to talk to successful Kickstarters every day. What is the lead up? I know that you're talking months, maybe years of lead up on a project like this, where you're effectively laboring and hoping that there will be a payoff down the road. So what's it like in the lead up to one of these Kickstarters to just sit there and toil and hope? I mean, and then with that said, what's it like when you see your toiling rewarded like that?
Well, I mean, we always knew we was going to do a Kickstarter for the game because it seems like a great way to connect with your target audience.
Sure.
You're making a game that you want to play, and the people you aim it for are basically the same as you. They like good retro games. They like the arcade style. So we always knew we'd do that, but we didn't want to release. We didn't want to do the campaign until we actually had a playable game. You see lots of projects where they launch on Kickstarter, and it's just an idea. And they might have a couple of screenshots or maybe a video they've knocked together, but there's no real core substance to what they're trying to sell or they're trying to create. They're trying to create something, but they haven't actually got to the stage where it's actually playable. So we was always adamant that we wanted to only go public with the campaign once we've got something that people can actually play and download. And that's why we thought it was best to have a demo on there that you can download and play. And then people get a chance to see what we're actually working on. And if they believe in it like we do, then they can back it and move forward. But the amount of work that went into the campaign page was quite a lot. I mean, I've never been involved with a Kickstarter campaign at this level before. I've helped other people where I've provided artwork, like art prints, canvas prints, and stuff like that. But when you're working on one, it's just two of you. It's incredible the amount of work that goes into all the assets that you create, like from the little headers that are on the page to working out the reward tiers and the calculations for how much is a box going to cost, how much is a manual going to cost to print, how much is that going to cost, and then working it into volume and t-shirts, mouse mats, all that sort of stuff that people like to collect. And that was a real eye-opener for me, because it seems obvious, but when you start looking into it, you think, wow, there's just so much to do, and you think, so we worked quite hard beforehand to get the campaign page looking really, really good. And we're aiming up here. We know what we're doing. We're experienced, so we're known for good quality games from our portfolio. So for us, we wouldn't do anything less than do a good quality campaign, because we're working on a quality product, quality games that we're developing. So that has to go all the way through everything we do, And like you say, we're scrolling through and you can see the custom joysticks that we've got as well.
They're beautiful sticks here.
I got one here. Look,
they're super clever too. Oh, that's great. I mean,
they're really cool.
They're so clever. The way they're presented, the art with the eyes of the zombie as the joystick buttons, and I liked even the ring around the stick that it has. That I like the little touches, like they're just dandy. And I know those are really good. That's a really good company that makes those sticks. I mean, they're top shelf.
Cool. I mean, they're like really good stuff, and very good. And they're solid. They're metal. Really solid sticks.
I will say, I've talked to a few people over the years that were doing a Kickstarter. We've talked to them, and I mean, I call a spade on here. This is probably one of the best Kickstart pages I've ever seen. I mean, really, in all honesty. And
Oh wow, thank
I'm
you.
looking over the your incentives here because incentives are play a big part in these. I mean, a lot of people are just going to go in and get the digital download of the box or
Yeah,
whatever. But I'm looking, and you guys have some incentives on here. The one that caught my eye was I guess it's the big one here. And I guess are there still any of these left? The 1500 pound edition, the
yeah,
master, because I mean, if I know you guys have a lot of fans for the obvious reasons, and at the very top of this it says design your own level for the game, and I'm assuming that would be in conjunction with you two gentlemen to lay that out. And I mean, listen, 1,500 pounds. That's not chump change. But I mean, that is an offer for a once in a lifetime sort of affair, frankly. I
yeah.
mean, and I know how popular y'all's previous work is. I think that would be an awesome thing to pick up. Like, how did you guys even come up with that one? That's crazy. Do your own level.
Yeah, it was we've always spoke to other people who've done Kickstarters, and they said you've always got to have a high tier level because it's
Yeah,
like because you've got to put something at the top of the tier levels because you work your way up. And we kind of talked about it, and it was like we could do it where somebody actually put a level in the game. But also in the game, we've got the little chat heads. I don't know if when you play the game, you saw the little chat heads that come up. They'll give you
absolutely. Yeah,
messages. Well, this tier also lets you have your own chat head. So I'll draw your own pixel portrait in
yes,
the game,
that's
and
awesome.
you can also write your own text, like a couple of lines of custom text that will go in the game, and that will go in the finished game that everyone will play. So
That's very
that's the level.
clever. That's
Yeah,
very clever.
yeah, and
it's a big chunk of development, isn't it? So
yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah,
reflected, and it is quite expensive, but there'll be a lot of prep work and a little bit
yeah.
of training and tools and stuff. So I mean, it's quite an involved thing. So I mean,
But
I guess
Is
that's
this
that also includes the launch event that we're planning
Oh,
as
very
well.
good.
So you get to come to that and spend some time with us before the event, and yeah. So that's an awful lot in there for the money.
Is that one shot? Is it just one person going to get to? How many people can take you
There's
guys
two.
up on that?
We did two.
Uh,
We've one of them's gone.
oh,
So,
you've
but
already
I will say
someone's already
it's
took you up on this. Okay, that's
yeah, yeah,
outstanding.
oh,
yeah, they have, and it's like wow. But if the other one goes, then we could consider opening it again. But we don't want to put too many because we don't want to be in a
Yeah,
situation where we've got like 4 people who want to do loads of level design.
yeah.
So
I was gonna say
yeah,
you're
yeah,
making get the design time longer with all these, but still, I mean,
yeah,
what a cunning gift that is. And like I said, a lot of these, I mean, t-shirts, mouse pads. The joysticks think are clever. The box looks lovely. I'm assuming you did all the
yeah.
art on this.
Yeah,
Uh,
everything you see is me. So if anything looks a bit dodgy, you can blame me. So,
d- do you find it rewarding after doing? Because I know you do a lot of I mean, is the majority of your work these days is it just it's non-game related art, right? I would assume at this point.
yeah, I mean,
I mean,
my normal job that I tend to do is I do get me what creative consultancy.
oh,
So
I
I
see.
do like branding, logos, from illustrations, anything to do with creativity. In a company
Yeah,
wants some creative
that ex-
director in their company, then
you should
I'm
use
your
the
man.
logo for this game as advertising for your for your
Yeah,
business
yeah,
because
yeah,
it's outstanding. I mean,
yeah.
do
Thank
you
you.
enjoy having no limitations when you can just draw art? I mean, is it? I'm sure that's the difference between doing digital art and doing actual like pen and paper art. It's a whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about doing something like this is you're in control of what you want to do. So, but again, coming back to what Tony and I were saying earlier about the experience, you kind of draw on your experience. So you kind of give yourself your own restrictions. So you kind of like think to yourself, well, I've got to get this logo done because we need it for like to put it out for publicity and stuff. So you give yourself restrictions to get it done in a certain time frame.
Sure.
Um, but 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 yeah, I mean the whole thing is it's really weird because you just do it, and 15, 20 years ago you probably would have been like scratching your head and going, all right, how am I going to do this and what should I do with that? Whereas between us, we just kind of get on with it. So, but I think that just comes down to experience because we've done this for years. not particularly this particular game, but we've been doing like, software development and game development for years. You kind of just fall into what works and what doesn't work. And everything we've done on this game is basically drawn from that experience. So, we kind of preempt what we know was going to work before we do it. We think, well, that's going to work, so we'll just go ahead and do it. Sometimes things don't work. You might put something in the game that doesn't quite work, but most of the time you're just drawing on that experience and you just get on with things. And the same with the page. It's just literally the colors. Worked out what colors we wanted, kept them themed. Character heads are in there, the illustrations are in there. I mean, I did a big the cover art. I did that quite early on, so we had some content to show people, and we can also break the components up from that cover art into different sections and use all over the place. For what we've done on the rewards headers and things.
Sure.
So there's just so much. I mean, the amount of art I've done is just like insane. It's like you forget how much has been done. You think, wow, to the box mock-ups, the design of the boxes. What else was there? Oh, t-shirt designs. That's the other thing is in the campaign we're going to have 3 t-shirt designs you can choose from. So with one of them's on there, but the other 2 I've got a design yet, and the same with the mouse mat and the coasters. So there's a lot of design work we'll be doing as well on it. So
the box looks lovely, and I'm looking here at just to see what the different levels are. So if you just want to get with the game and support these fellows, you can get in. What is this? $15 for the next ROM, and also what is this? The PC ROM is $15, and then for $30, and you might as well get the $30 gimmick because you can get the DVD game case. That looks nice. Like I said, the art's nice, and I like the fact that you're offering a big box edition too, because a lot of people really love to collect those, especially when they're real good looking. So that's I think that's a real easy choice there. At £50, I'm sure you've sold a ton of those things. Let me ask you, when this is all said and done in was this 22 days, I believe it was, and this thing closes up. Like, how do you see? Like, do you guys have an ETA on when when this game is gonna be released in its full form? Is there a guess as to when it might be?
Yeah, I mean, we're sort on the Kickstarter. I think it says April 26th, doesn't it? So, I mean, as game developer, I think it does somewhere. So, but as game developers, we know, whatever date we give, it's always longer.
Yeah,
so we've given ourselves a fair amount of time with that in mind. There's a chance it will come in sooner, but I wouldn't, as a game dev, you shouldn't believe me when I say that.
I'm surprised April seems ambitious to me, especially considering there's someone out there that's yet to design a level that if you could pull that off, I'd be impressed. But I guess once you get the bones of it down, maybe it's a little bit easier. You guys know better than me on this thing.
Well, we've got all our coding's done, and we're kind of just like making content now. So it'll probably be a case of we say to ourselves we need to stop because. We could just keep adding things to go because every day we have ideas. We could probably carry on for years if we wanted to, but we'll probably say, it's time we stopped. Because
that probably happens a lot in game design, I'm guessing, where the people keep coming up with plans or add-ons, and the production never ends on the game. So at least you've got, and now that the bones are in, and I want to talk about it. And by the way, just again, in case you want to back this, and I strongly suggest you do. The link to go to the Kickstarter page is in the show notes just down below, and it'll take you right to the page, and you can get in on this and get on the ground floor and get you a couple goodies out of the deal. I was telling the boys before we got in that I actually had a chance to sit down and play both versions of this. I'm lucky. I'm one of the lucky people in the States here that I was gifted. In fact, the guy that gave me this, Scooby's in the chat right now. Thank you, Scooby. But he gave me this ZX Next here, so of course I had to fire it up and try it on the ZX Next, and it played great. And there's also a PC version out that I tried out, and I played them both, and they both ran great. So many of these things that I play on demo, they kind of chug out of the gate, if you know what I mean. And so I could tell that you guys knew what you were doing, because this felt like a completed game in every sense of the word. I wanted to touch up on a couple of the concepts in this game. For starters, I really like what you guys chose as a backdrop for this. This is sort of like, now stop me if I'm wrong, but it's sort of like a South American, Peru or Machu Picchu sort of thing going here, and you've got a couple South American kids to pick from. Like, how did that come about, fellas?
It was I've got an interest in that part of the world. I love the ancient sites around
Oh yeah.
sort of Peru and Bolivia. It's just fascinating. The H blocks is fascinating how they're so precisely cut, and you think they look like they've been machined. There's something going on there. And when we were talking about doing a game, I had it in my head that it'd be quite cool to set a game in that kind of area, but a fictitious location. So we're not tied to one particular location. And it just really stemmed from there. And when we started talking about what we could do, it kind of just thought it seemed natural to do a game where you're exploring outside. Your urban explorers are exploring outside like this ancient sort of ruined sort of area, and you kind of stumble across what you think is an entrance to an ancient temple that's been buried in the ground, but you're not quite sure. But because you're urban exploring, you think we'll give it a go, and they go in and they start exploring, and I think this is like an old temple, but we didn't want to tie it just to that area, so we thought what we'll do, as you go further in, it becomes more paranormal. So you've kind of disturbed
Oh.
something quite dark. So as you go further in the game, you're kind of getting deeper into this area which is like a little bit weird, and so it gets darker and darker, and we can introduce all paranormal stuff into the mix. There's going to be zombies all the way through the game because we was always sort of we both like the zombie genre, and we thought, well, it'd be cool to put zombies in. So we've got quite a few different zombie types that are in or going in. But the whole idea was to kind of use something which not many people use as a base subject matter. You don't normally see games based around like Tiwanaku or Pumapunku or Teotihuacan or places like that. So I thought, well, if we can do something like that, then it just makes it a little bit different. Just a little bit different to what everyone else is doing. Because everyone does Egypt. Egypt's been done
Yeah.
to death. It's
Yeah.
great place, fantastic, source of inspiration, but it's been used a lot through video games in the years. And I thought, well, why don't we do something a little bit different? And that's why the characters and the locations look the way they do.
I think it's
Like,
a great choice, personally. I'm sorry, go ahead,
yeah,
Tony.
I mean, urban exploring is a big thing on like YouTube and stuff. There's loads of people doing it. We thought, but not much in games at all. So we thought, a good premise would be to start off with urban exploring, and then it just gets weirder and darker. They fall into this trap that's something much more, and that's our video game spin on the whole thing.
Yeah.
I got to mention this. I meant to mention when we were on your page for the Kickstarter, but you guys shot a video for that, and it looks like you guys are doing some urban exploring as you go to pick up the brochure off the ground. I did get a kick out of that, and it's funny. I'm a bit of an urban explorer myself, but in as much as West Virginia has to offer, we actually go out and we go into caves and other stuff, But they've got a area near me that are called the TNT area, and during the war, they built these things that are called cement igloos. That they used to store munitions in, and people have kicked in these huge steel doors. They look like they're ready to fall out. And when I first turned on your video, I was like, "Holy smokes! What are they doing?" It looked exactly like that. And then once you get in there, like, okay, I'm insane. But it's and I love the paranormal slant. I'm a big paranormal guy. You have to be around here with the Mothman and Flatwoods Monster and everything else. So we're all into that stuff of ghost hunting. I mean, me and my crew have been all over. So when I saw ghosts and urban explorer, I was like, this is my kind of game right here. You guys are singing my song. The gameplay in this, it reminds me of I mean, it's unique in a lot of ways. It reminded me a little bit of a game I used to play on the Coco and the ST called Time Bandits. I don't know if you're familiar with that one. Sort of like a gauntlet-y. But this, I mean, it's funny. I don't like Gauntlet all that much, but I really enjoyed this because this is more of a, it's more of an adventure to me than Gauntlet, like the exploration. Just to fill people in, and you guys can jump in here, but you pick one of these characters, and when you go exploring, I mean, the world is basically fairly open, including multiple paths. I know when I finished the game, I had ignored an entire, like, I guess like a cave area that I didn't have to go into. Is this the way you picture the game going forward? Just like multiple areas to go in, and secret areas, that sort of thing. Is that where we're going?
Yeah, totally. I mean,
Yeah.
when we was discussing releasing the demo, we thought, well, we've got to give a kind of a snippet of what the full game is going to be about. So one of the reasons we put, like, if you go up on the first level, you go up, you can go to this level, but if you go down to the bottom, you'll find a little area, and you go into a side room, cavey area, and then that links you back to the other map. So if you explore, then you'll find things that you might not have seen if you didn't go exploring. Just like Urban Explorers. And the whole game is based around that design concept. So, there'll be multiple routes through the game, and there'll be areas where you'll be looping back on levels you've already done, because you might find a certain key that only unlocks a door that's for that one key, but you can't get that key unless you go all the way around and explore some other area, and you loop back round and you can go through. So there's lots of that kind of thing going on in the way the levels have been designed. And it's really to give the feeling that it's bigger. You're not just confined to one level after another level after another level. You're playing over 2 or 3 levels. Because the other thing we've got in it is it's instant level loading. So when you go through an exit, the other level, it just appears straight away. There's no loading, it's just there. And it's to give you that sense that you are in this vast area, and you're exploring, and you're going through stuff. It's pretty good. When we first got all that working, it was really cool, because up until that point, we'd only had the levels as single levels, and then we had to kind of select them. But once we got all the doors in, it was just like mental, because it was like, this really works well. It's just amazing when you develop a game, you get these little things going in, and it totally changes the way the game feels. And
it's very seamless.
It was great. It was really cool.
It pulls off that illusion. Because you don't, like, I mean, in all honesty, once you go through a door, for example, that doesn't open back up. I mean, at least I could get it to open back up. I mean, it feels like, well, I'm trapped in here. Let's go see what's up here. I didn't think to myself, okay, I'm on another level, because it like you said, it flowed right into it. I noticed that this game, you were talking about Urban Explorers and the fact that those guys can, they can go out and get killed, fall through the floor or whatever. And this game has a few areas that are particularly dire and deadly, and can, at least the best of my abilities, could get you to a point where you couldn't get out. Is that going to be? Are we going to get a lot of that sort of puzzly element where these guys can be trapped?
Yeah, I mean, this level that's on the screen now, this is a later level in the game. We put it into the demo just to give a contrast. So you can see the floor disappears there.
Yes, I saw that many times.
Yeah, if you go the other route round, it's actually the route you can take without getting trapped. So there are multiple ways you can go through. And it's quite a fine balance, because if you make it too harsh, then people won't want to play it again. But if you design the levels in such a way where the only person you can blame is yourself, if you fall down a hole, then you think, I'll have to learn the next time not to go that way, or I'll have to be careful. There's a floor that gives way and I won't go near it. So it's quite a fine line, but we're kind of managing to do it so far. But the game's going to have loads of that stuff, and we've got rolling boulders, we've got spikes coming out the floor, spikes coming out the walls, we've got fire, lava, we've got all sorts of things that we're putting into it, and it will just make this really kind of, we think, quite a unique game, because we're drawing on lots of different elements, but we're bringing them all together in like one package that kind of packages it up and says, there you go, this is all the stuff that you probably enjoyed from the arcades, and we've mixed and matched bits that we like and put it into this game.
Yeah,
But
I think you nailed it. Go ahead.
There will be there will be like save points and stuff. So when it gets harder, you'll get trapped and die or something, but you won't go back all that far. And then you'll have another go, and you'll go, oh yeah, I can get a little bit further. And then if you die again, it'll be like, hopefully the third time you'll get through it. So it's not going to be so rock hard that people are like frustrated, because like I find games quite difficult these days. I'm not as cool at them as I used to be when I was younger. So
Yeah.
I figure if I can play it, if I can, like Stu's like the master of putting these levels together. So if I can play them, then they're probably judged about right,
Yes.
I would say you nailed it on this, and I'll tell you why. Because much like I went through and did a little research on this before I actually dug into it proper, and I noticed everybody died in a certain area, and so the one thing I did do was I died in the same area so many times that I got to be aces at the other areas. I was running through this, and I really say you've got to, in the demo you've got I think 3 different weapons. There's 2 different guns and the crowbar, and I like the crowbar. I use it almost exclusively because it was fun to go up and just bash suckers with the crowbar. And so and I was always afraid. I like the little gauges you've got to tell you how many bullets you've got left. But the crowbar, there's something satisfying just going up and slamming somebody. And I use that a lot. But eventually, like you said, once I understood the path through this thing, it was just a matter of taking care of the final guy and rolling out the door. And I thought the learning curve, I mean, again, I do a lot of stuff with the Amiga where the learning curve is an upward slope of doom. So anything that actually holds my hand a little bit, at least lets me feel like I'm getting somewhere, is glorious to me. So I thought the learning curve on this was pretty spot on. We're looking at a screen here with a big slime creature, sort of like an end boss here. Is this something we can expect to see more of this sort of thing as we go through the game?
Yeah, this particular slime boss is this one is actually the start of area 2. And so the area 1 is all the green and the stone, and then you get to end area 2, and then you get into the slime area. But he's at the start, this one, and there's another one later which is actually harder, where there's these. If you look on that screen, there's like these 2 slime pots in the corners.
Yeah.
They will be active on the next version, on the next map of this. So when you see him again, he draws his energy from them slime pots. So you have to destroy those first before you can destroy him. So there's lots of boss stuff in there that we're putting in, and like mid-level boss stuff. And we've got we've got quite a few different things we're putting into it, which will be interesting. It'll be interesting. It certainly breaks up the gameplay.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the music in this, which I thought was quite good. I'm understood from listening to another interview that you guys said the music in this is not exactly going to be the final product. Is that right? Because I mean, I will say whoever did the music in this, I mean, you can tell us who it was. I thought he did a bang up job. I thought the tunes were really good in this.
Richard Faulkner done the music, but it's the I think. The music was in the first demo was basically just temporary music that we had.
Oh, I see. So we got the proper music now. That makes sense because I thought it was real good, and the mood of the mood of the music fits the mood of the game to me. That I really liked it. I don't want to say it's got a South American flavor, but there's something in there that made me that worked for me. Yeah. We used to have a show here called In Search Of, which was hosted by Leonard Nimoy, guy that played Spock. I used to love this show. Yeah. And they would go to the ruins in like Peru and stuff. Yes. And so the music took me back. That's what it reminded me of when I played.
Because when we started talking to Richard, I said to him, like, because of the location of the game, I sent him a YouTube channel by a band called Alvarado, which are a Peruvian folk band, and they sing in native Quechua, which is obviously the ancient language of that area. And I listened to that. Some of their music's really, really good, and it really captures the essence of that area. And I said to him, if you can capture that essence in chip music, which is very difficult because the AY chips in the Spectrum Next aren't really, they're okay, but they're not the best sort of sound chips you can get. I said, if you can capture the essence, but do it in a kind of video game way, so it's still kind of like, in that boppy kind of video game chip music way, then that'll be fantastic. And he did it. I mean, the level 1 music he did was just spot on. He got the tune in there, and it just captures that essence, which is really, really cool. Which is exactly what we wanted. It's really good.
It sounds like it came straight out of an '80s arcade. That's what I was in the arcades in the '80s. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so there's a sound to it. You don't want the best. I mean, this thing about the Next. I mean, you don't need or want the best sound chip or the best graphics, because that's not what we're going for here. I don't think anyway. And And when you try to shoot for that 80s style arcade game, I mean, that's the music you want. Anything else would have been too modern, in my opinion. So I think you did it spot on that.
Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's a
we're
good
pleased
point.
with it.
So let me ask you another quick question about this, because I've had a couple people in the chat ask me this. Now what they're asking for is Amiga. They want some Amiga action on this thing. Do we see a point in the future? Because I know it's mentioned in there that the Amiga is going to get a run on this, or some of the other 16 bits. I don't know what you guys had planned. How do you guys see this unfolding in the future?
Yeah, I guess if this one's a success and it kind of looks like it's going to be, then
Yeah.
we'll be encouraged to keep going and do further platforms. So yeah, I mean, probably if that comes about, then Amiga would be pretty much next or so on the list, as it's quite close to this version. One thing we're determined to do is the best possible job on each platform. So we wouldn't be doing like cheap or fast ports. We'd be looking at each machine and saying what do you do to get the best out of it. So it wouldn't be immediate, but as long as this is a success, then we'll keep going and so yeah, Amiga. We don't want to say there'll be an Amiga on this date, and definitely, but it pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing with the Amiga is that we know it's got a very good base of people who enjoy it. I mean, the Amiga is one of my most favourite computers ever, and it's just a great machine. And it's like Tony just said, it's a lot of work to develop a game. So if this does do well, which it looks like it's probably going to, which is great, then we'll look into it. But the thing with the Amiga is it's got a bigger color palette, and means we can get much better, smoother graphics into it. So we're over compromised on these graphics because the palettes can't really handle that many shades. I'll be able to smooth all those rocks off and stones and add some more layers of the grass and all sorts of enhancements, which will be which will make the if we do Amiga one, it'll stand it out from this one, so it'll look enhanced. And
you say you're aiming for an AGA Amiga. That's what you're shooting for if you do that. I think that's probably the way to go.
Yeah. I think AGA. I think it's. I mean, we're using a lot of colours on this one. We're using. I mean, all the sprites in the game have got their own 16 colour palette. So the players are 16 colour. All the other sprites are 16 colour. So when you add up all those 16s together, you end up with quite a few different banks of colours. So AGA would probably be the machine that would allow us to do it without compromising graphics. So yeah, I mean AGA is just lovely for colours. It's got so many colours on it. It's brilliant.
It's finally coming into its own. It took 30 years or whatever, but now we're seeing a lot of releases in AGA that are just dandy. So and I will say one thing: if you end up getting this ported to the Amiga, if you that the Amiga community has deep pockets, because they spend money like madmen on the craziest stuff I've ever seen. I've seen it firsthand. So and when a new game comes out, if it's good, I guarantee you we'll get some action on it. I had a couple questions here, if you guys will indulge my listeners just for a moment here. They sent me a few things in that I think would be interesting to know. Our good buddy Pajako asks, this is for you, Stu, do you still use a mouse to draw pixel art, or do you use a digitizing pad and pen?
That's a very good question. I do, and I've got the mouse here. It's this one here. Look, this is the mouse I actually use for doing all the pixel art in this game was drawn with this mouse.
Is that a top dollar mouse right there? The big money for those?
It's medium. I mean, it's got a weight in it, so you can put different weights in the box. It's a gamer's mouse.
Oh yeah,
I've had it quite a few years now, so it's really. I mean, I don't know how much it was actually. I think it was about £70 or something.
Oh, that's not bad.
Which is what's that in dollars? That's about $90. Is it $80-$90?
Yeah. So
like
don't use the pad, digitized pad and pen. That's not your bag.
I do when I'm doing my digital art. So all the illustrations for the where's my pen? There's my camera. I've got a graphics tablet I use for doing all my like all the illustrations you see for the characters. I'm talking about like the digital illustrations.
Yeah.
I use a tablet for all that sort of stuff. But any pixel art you see has been drawn a pixel at a time by me with me mouse, and
Oh man.
every pixel was drawn one pixel at a time. So I'm glad these mice have got micro switches, because the old mice the old Amiga mouse couldn't handle it. Do you remember the old Amiga mouse? That was
Oh
the old
yes.
tank. Yeah, the
Yeah.
old tank. When I first got my one, it lasted like 5 minutes, because you constantly click, 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 click. So I end up going a micro switch mouse. But yeah, I do it all old school. It's the old school way of doing things.
And I listened to Simon Butler's show. Okay, so I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys run the same
Yeah, I know
circles. And
Simon. Yeah, we know him.
Simon is an outspoken maniac. But
Yes.
I enjoy his insane old guy rants, being an old guy myself.
Yeah.
My goal is to never get in his crosshairs under any circumstances, because he kills everybody, kills them dead.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot of respect for the people that did art from listening to him on his show. Just talk about how tough it is, and how long it takes, and how much you have to concentrate, and how you have to deal with people about getting paid, getting jobs. It sounds like it was a heck of a chore. I'm guessing it's the same way for most jobs when it comes to game making. So I'll give that guy's credit here. I got one more question here from our buddy Orkmeal, he's already backed you guys for the big box, so he's on board.
Cheers. Thank you.
He writes that he mentions here that, or he asks if there's any chance there will be some sort of two-player simultaneous play on this game. I mean, looking at it, it seems like it could maybe work. Was that ever thought of in the design of this thing?
It's definitely part of the plan. Yeah. Now it's probably not going to come to this version. Mostly because the next has got a bit of a hardware limit on the sprites, and we can't put the two different player characters on the screen at once, as in the two different designs, because it starts flashing its sprite pattern memory. So we're probably not going to get it on this version. But if we do subsequent ones, like the Amiga we were just talking about, I can see no reason why we couldn't bring the two-player co-op into it.
It's funny, I hadn't even thought of that. Stupid me, and that makes perfect sense. If you're this sort of game having multiple players, that'd be kind of neat. I mean, it's funny because playing this by myself, I guess this is where you were going. It worked on me. I did get that. I did get the feeling I was walking solo into a deep dark area, and I guess it would be nice to have a buddy on there. The way everything's set up, I could see that, and I can also see the limitations of the ZX Next. Time we talked to some other developers on it, I know there are certain things that it can and can't do. Of course, it was made that way, so it makes sense.
I mean, the other thing I was just going to say is that if when we do implement two-player on a future version, it would also require the level designs to be tweaked slightly to allow for two-player play, because some levels are designed for single player. So in order to get the best out of playing, with a two-player game, you'd need to sort of just design things where there's little puzzles where you need two people to unlock something, or there might be a floor pad that you need to stand on, and the other player then has to go in and get something, and just little things like that, which just add to the game, which the earlier versions won't have. So it's like we said earlier, every version we do will all play to the strengths of the machine. So it's I'm looking forward to the roadmap ahead. We've got a lot of plans.
Yeah, you guys, now that the Kickstarter has been a huge success, I guess the real work begins when you have to bring this thing home. But I mean, at least now you can labor knowing that the people are ready and they're craving what you're offering. Yeah. And having played this, like I said, I can understand why. I played this on the ZX Next and the PC, and the demo at least, and I can tell you that they both play flawlessly, and they're quite fluid and lovely. And again, for a demo for a Kickstarter, that's not all that common. And by the way, I think you made the right choice getting a demo ready before you actually put the Kickstarter. That makes a huge difference, because the proof's in the pudding, as they say. And I think it was a right call. Boy, I guess before we take this thing to the house, is there anything you guys that we haven't covered that you'd like to throw in here at the end about this? We've got 22 days to go. They're at about 34K here. What's your last pitch before we take this home?
It's a good question.
Be a pitcher, man. Come on, Tony, get in there. Pitch this thing.
I think you've sold it pretty well, to be honest. I mean, listening to you talking about it, I'm excited myself again. It's.
I'm going to pledge myself.
Enjoyed it.
Well, I mean, I listen. I'm no interview master. I call them like I see them when it comes to playing games. That's what I do. And people know that listen, sometimes stuff don't click with me, but I jumped right in on this for real and had a real good time with it. I was actually surprised, because I like the way you set up the buttons and the joystick to flip between the weapons. I thought that worked great. And it's my kind of game. It's the kind of game that's complex but simple. Get up. I mean, I could take my boy and bring him in here, and he could sit down and he could be playing this thing in 5 minutes. Now, would he get past the more complicated puzzle sections immediately? Probably not. But after a few plays, he would figure it out, and that's what keeps people coming back for it. And so I think it's dandy. I think you've done a great job emulating an 80s arcade game.
Thank you.
And obviously you've already been such a huge success that. I think it's all up from here. I would not be surprised if this number here goes up substantially in the next couple of weeks. Well, geez, fellas, I appreciate you guys coming in and talking to me today.
Thank you.
It's been a lot of fun. It's been a pleasure to meet you. And I'd like to thank everyone that popped in the chat, all the people that sent in questions. And I know a lot of people are excited for this. I think there'll be a lot of action when this comes out, and hopefully when you guys bring this to market once and for all, maybe I can get you to come back on and you can tell me what else you've done to entice the people to pick this thing up. Now let me ask you before we totally close it. Once this thing's kickstarted, I'm assuming at some point in the distant future, is this going to be something that's going to be available post Kickstarter? I mean, could people buy? Is this going to be in storefronts or Steam, or is there any plans for that sort of thing?
Well, you'll be able to late back it for quite a long time on the Kickstarter.
That's okay.
But I guess after that, I mean, there's no reason why it won't be on sale forever, to be honest, in one form. I mean, it's possible that the box stuff, the physical stuff will run out after the Kickstarter, but I mean, the game itself should always be available. So they'll all, hopefully it'll live forever.
Yeah, I will say that you brought something up there that we should mention. If you are in the market, if you're like me, I like a good big box game. I've got a whole slew of them back here, and in fact, here's one right here. If you're into that sort of thing, these will go quick. I have no doubt. I've seen this happen over and over. So if you want the big boy, you need to get in there now. I wouldn't wait until after the thing was over. All right, boys, I'll let you get back to it. Thanks, everybody, once again. And
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah,
Can I just say
please.
one thing before we go? With the big box, there's actually there'll be a full color illustrated manual in it as well. So if you remember
the art,
that,
I assume.
yeah. Because we like big box games, and we thought, well, when you open a big box game, it's that thing where you open it, you get the manual, and you look at all the artwork, you look at all the the write up and the story and how to play it and character profiles. We love all that stuff, so we thought, well, that's what we'll do with the big box one, and it'll be in there. And very much looking forward to having them printed, so I can have my own one. So
Yeah, that boy, I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, and it looks so nice. I think those will go quick. So get yours today, everybody. Don't wait till the 11th hour. So that's all from here. We will let you guys get back to it, and I will catch you guys on Tuesday when me and Brent hop on our Sinclair for another round. Until then, everybody have a nice weekend. Adios.
thank you.
Amigos is made possible by contributions from listeners like you. Patreon supporters help choose the games we play, receive exclusive magnets, and get access to the Amigos Retro Gaming Discord server. Visit patreon.com/Amigos Podcast if you'd like to support the show and join our community.